Checking, checking, checking. Okay, so it looks like we are maybe streaming. Oh, and there's the chat window. So, okay, cool. Things appear to be working. Doing a little experiment with OBS, doing lower latency just to see what happens. So, we'll see who shows up tonight. But, yeah. Got a good bit of work to do, so let's just continue, and in a bit here I'll be looking to see who decided to come on and visit the live stream. Let's see here. What do we got? We've got probably need to concurrent viewers. It's interesting. Boom. Okay, so I just ran it, and according to, yeah, I mean it's about a 5-second latency. That's not that great. Okay, so here we go. I think here we need to get our characters anchored to the ground. Yeah, so there's quite a bit to do actually on this shot. So I'm gonna say let's hit the G key, which for me is the freehand path tool, and I'm gonna go ahead and drop the opacity of it down a little bit and just kind of put this shape here around this guy. Oops. Okay. Looks like he's baked into the Okay, he's baked into the background. I did not realize that. My bad. Okay, so in that case, why don't we fix? Let's see. Let's turn off this. Yeah, let's turn off this tint first. Get this shape chopped in. And then we'll deal with his shadow. Okay, so we're going to have to chop that in several times, which is no big deal since he's in some crazy motion. So it's not as if we're going to notice the fact that it's not exactly the same from frame to frame. Okay, so Varia, do you usually work on light mode? On light mode? I don't know what you mean by by light mode. I'm sorry. Gosh, I probably should have my webcam on so people can see my gorgeous face. What do you mean by light mode? If you don't mind me asking, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Okay, so let's see if this is roughly the right color or tint for the shadow. I'd over top like so, and then actually here I could just do a little expansion of it like that, and we'll just animate it around and make it work. Well, the other thing too about putting it in another layer is I could blur it a little bit as well. Okay, light mode, like bright, how the whole, yeah, I think most people do prefer the darker skin. I don't know why I like the light skin. I've been using it for a while, but it's not a big deal to me. I just think some things are a little easier to see. Hitting the 5 key, by the way. Okay, so as far as that blur I was talking about, let's go filter, and let's just do a Gaussian blur. And obviously don't want to blur it too much or it basically looks kind of stupid. So alright, so now what I can do is on each of these additional frames just hit Control F, boom, and it will repeat the blur on each of those keys. Okay. So, cool beans. Um, all right, take a drink of my tasty beverage. Hmm. I guess I'll stop and see if my, or not stop, but I'm gonna check and see if my, um, webcam wants to work. Okay, so what I need to do is do this, and let's see if the webcam. Oh, it did. There we go. Screen 2. Okay, so there's my webcam. Since obviously I am super duper handsome and everyone wants to see me. I don't know. Generally, if I'm watching a live stream, it is a little more cool-ish if you can actually see the person. Okay, so back to work. Soda Pop. Do you find Cree to be better than OpenTunes? Oh, brother, that's. You know what? I've actually. Um, I've been looking at. Darren T is a friend of mine, and he's big on OpenTunes. And Amar Risco or Roscoe, he likes Blender. I use Blender. I use OpenTunes. Um, but I very much favor Krita for reasons that it you almost have to explain things on a case by case basis, because the most obvious thing that you get with OpenTunes or Blender is the ability to set a keyframe. Like this is actually a really good example of this shot, because what you really want to do is have your characters um, in multiple layers and be able to take them and do that, do a camera move. Okay, so you can do the camera move the way I did it here, which is I manually just scaled the layers to fake the camera move. And it depends on the situation, because I have many, many shots that I bring into Blender or OpenTunes for keyframe animation. But kind of surprisingly, what I usually find is it's actually just as fast to do the keys by hand. So I'll in a little bit, I think I'll get through this shot, and then I'll probably jump to my other screen, where up here you can see this show. Right now this show is, well, we've got about 15 minutes of show here, so we've got all this. We're up to about around 15 minutes, and then there's also 8 minutes on the end. So the show's got about, what is that, 23 minutes that are pretty close to a finished state. And right now I'm kind of going through some older shots and just cleaning things up and trying to make them look a little better. So all right, so I need to be in the TNR layer, and what I'm kind of feeling at the moment is that these outlines are not really bold enough. So yep. So there's no right answer as far as software goes. Whatever software you're using, you're going to want to spend the time to really learn and customize, in many cases, the hotkeys, and just learn it inside and out. There is no shortcut, really. You have a lot of footage. Yeah, yeah. Well, I've been working on it all this year, really, during COVID-19. Boom. 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 And boom. Let me see. And we want to probably have a little bit of a... I think I'll turn the stabilizer off for this, because I'm moving my stylus pretty fast. So yeah, Tianara's mother is grabbing her and giving her a whirl. Okay, and I can see I forgot to get these lines tightened up. So this shot is a holdover. What is the name of this project? Well, the working title is called Salt and Light, which I'll tell you the story behind that is pretty simple. I guess I'll just come up and explain it this way. The whole first episode is a 48-minute double length episode that sets up a story that's their adventures. Okay, so mm, OBS is reconnecting. Sorry. Okay, so um, are we live yet? Yeah, I think we are. Okay, so the point is, at the end of this first episode, these three kids have their fates are all thrown together, and then there's the villain guy that is going to be chasing them throughout the various episodes. So anyway, the story is called Salt and Light because the idea is that it's really the only sort of biblical reference in the story is the idea that these kids, um, kind of spread a good message everywhere they go, because they're going to be going and through and um, kind of going from town to town. And the idea is each episode they sort of get involved in somebody's problem and wind up helping to solve it. It's a time-tested formula that you saw in shows like Hercules: The Legendary Journeys. The old 1980s Incredible Hulk TV show really followed that same pattern. It's a pretty time-tested motif. So, all right, let me jump back over here so I can see what the heck's going on. And it looks like nobody's talking too much, so that's fine. I'll just keep on a-working. So this girl's name is Tianara, and she's pretty much the heroine of the story. Boom, boom. So what I was going to say earlier is when I was testing some different workflow methodologies earlier, um, what I have in this particular shot is a little different than where I wound up landing in later shots that frankly looked better. And so the fact that I have to kind of redoodle some of these outlines is sort of a holdover from the fact that I tested some workflow that I thought was going to be quite workable and turned out, I don't know, it actually worked fine from a workflow standpoint, but it didn't. Whoops. In fact, I actually, if you go over to the channel for, there's a guy named Darren T, which I'm sure Jim P Animation has heard of, but the name is Darren T. And Darren is, he's an OpenTunes guy, OpenTunes and Tahoma, which is really the same program. Tahoma's a fork of OpenTunes. And he's actually, we're loosely collaborating, and we'll get around to getting busy on it on a Futurama fan episode that I wrote. And I did actually all the voices for that. So I do a lot of that myself, and in my I've even had occasion in my feature film work to actually have to do voice replacement for my actors, and have successfully fooled the audience into thinking that the person they were hearing was not me. So that's always lots of fun. But yeah. So anyway, I'm thinking I'll probably be Mel, the main character. It's probably going to be my voice. I'll talk something like this. He's a 15, 16-year-old kid kind of thing. And also, because of my film work, I have a lot of friends who are actors, some of whom have really excellent voices. uh, that I will tap into for voice stuff as well. Well, actually, including my daughter who um, is quite an accomplished um, actress and singer. So, okay, Soda Pop, will you have your wife do the girl's voice? Um, hey Darren. Yeah, I just mentioned you, dude. I just mentioned your channel because somebody asked about the voices, and I mentioned the Futurama thing. So, um, you can put a plug in the comments for my voice acting if you want to. But my wife may. Um, we'll see about. We'll see if Valerie wants to dive in and get involved with the voice stuff. Okay, I don't think I need to kill myself on the outlines through a lot of this because yeah, just this shot right here. Once she stops moving, essentially. Okay, so here's Tia. I'm gonna go ahead and add a key on this paint layer right here. So that's a blank key, and then what I'm gonna do is add a key here, and I'll show you why. So what I'm gonna do is I'm hitting the Q key to turn on the stabilizer. So I'm gonna bolden this line. And in just a second, guys, I'll go ahead and jump to the other screen and do a little recap of what's been going on the last few days for those of you, um, those of you who are interested. Thanks for tuning in, by the way, guys. I always, whenever I live stream, which I don't that often, I always think, yeah, nobody's gonna show up. So it's always fun when someone does. Okay, so I put that on this layer so that I could be streaming. I was thinking an hour or so. Um, but yeah, as usual, OBS seems to want to disconnect every so often. So okay, so let's switch up to here, and I'm just going to do a really kind of a quick-ish recap of what's been going on. What I've been doing essentially is going through old shots and fixing things. So like this shot right here didn't have as many cacti in it. So I added some cactuses in the background. Same with this shot. I added a couple tweens on this shot and redid the clouds that are going by in the background. So I'm quite literally going through every shot in the show and fixing things and trying to bring the quality up to scratch. So this was redone today because Golik was just a little off character. I wasn't happy with how he was looking in this shot. And this, getting back to, I guess it was Varia or Varia who asked about OpenTunes versus Krita. This is a shot where I just had a single frame of the character that I brought into Blender, and I use shape keys to do all the animation. So I've done that quite a few times. This shot was completely redone to add the backlight, redid the king's hand as the king is dying, his hand falls off, added the shadow. You can see that nice shadow there. This shot was completely redone. And by the way, this shot is interesting because if you're into Krita or are exploring Krita, the one thing you can do as far as keyframe animation is layer opacity. And you can actually set keyframes to just cause a layer to be faded in over time. So the bones of an animation system are already there. They just haven't fully implemented it yet. And so that's what I did with this glow that slowly emerges. And also I slowly animated the Spiegel's opacity, so he sort of fades into the background. So that's kind of symbolic that this is the older brother got crowned king and the younger brother sort of fades into the background. Well, ultimately, as fixes go. So sorry about the interruption there on OBS. It's always annoying when OBS decides to not not stay connected well. I'll tell you, Darren, I need to try the latest OBS and see if that improves things a bit. So, all right, switching back to this screen. So there's that. Okay, so now we need to actually put in, yep, we need to put in a shadow for TNR as well, actually. So right here. Yeah, I can't believe I missed that. Okay, so let's take this, hitting the G key for the freehand path tool, and so she is on a separate layer, so I should, oops, sorry, accidentally put that on the Tia layer instead of the, okay, and now what I'm going to do is, well, actually, let's just fudge this. I'm going to hit the A key, and I'm going to use liquefy to just move. Okay, we don't want that. We want that to be moving things around. Okay, wiggle things a little bit. That's cool. Okay, I see. Unfortunately, I need to redraw. Yeah, Soda Pop. I do my own musical scoring and pretty much everything. I guess maybe I should. I'll tell you what. Let me put it this way. Boom. Okay. Bear with me for 1 second. I'm going to go down here, and I'll just say this. IMDb. Okay. So this movie, and those of you who already know the story, forgive me, David Matthew Weiss. Okay, so these films are all films that I wrote and directed in the past. I kind of wrapped up the whole movie thing about 3 years ago, but so Healed by Grace 2. This would be a chick flick horse movie that I released a couple years ago. Wrote, directed, edited, scored, the whole deal. So that's kind of what I've done, is written and directed films, and all of the music I've written, and I kind of do the one-man show kind of thing, I guess. I'm going to lighten those shadows up. And now in my new career, I've decided I'm going to be an animator, just because it's fun. Okay. Okay, so what I'm thinking here is, what I really want to do, I'm going to go ahead and bake this down. Boom. And make sure it looks good. And then I think what I'm going to do is, yeah, I'm going to tighten up the shadows in Tia's layer. So let me look here. Yep, that'll work. Okay, so what I'm going to do is hit Control G to put Tia in a group, and then I'm going to put a layer above her and hit Insert so there's a keyframe. And now what I'm going to do is, and by the way, if any of you guys are into animation with Krita, I do recommend Ed Tadeo's channel. Ed, first name Ed, last name is Tadeo, and he animates with Krita, and he was live streaming just today, actually, and kind of struggling actually with trying to explain what alpha lock is. So I was weighing in with some comments there to help him out a little bit. But the idea is that you've got a group in Krita, and if you add a layer above another layer, and then you click this little button that is called alpha lock, then what it does is it makes it so that you can only paint inside the area defined by this layer. So if I turn the background off, what that means is, and I'll just demonstrate it like this, if I hit the G key so that I'm doing a freehand path and just add a color, if I draw a shape like this, you can see the shape is locked to the character. So that's, typically people use that for things like shadows. Okay, so what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to, well, actually I don't want it to be red, but, so I'm going to make it black, and I'm just going to tighten up that shadow there, and I'd say I'm going to tighten up this shadow here as well. And then, because it's on a different layer, I can just change the layer opacity and just dial that shadow in. That feels about right to me. Okay, so now what I've got to do is go ahead and update that shadow on all the other keys. Okay, so Varia asks, is this story happening in a real place in the world? I would say no. It actually takes place at the time shortly after the Great Flood. So if you believe in the Great Flood, frankly, most cultures do. Most civilizations in the world and throughout history have a flood myth. So it's kind of widely accepted that a great flood did really were arrived at or created. So I wanted to pick a time that's kind of before there was a Bible, before there was a Bhagavad Gita, yada, yada, yada. Just because I felt like philosophically, spiritually, morally, it gave me a blank slate to work with in terms of the stories that I was trying to tell. Which my goal is to make them timeless. They're just feel good stories, suitable for all ages, kind of thing. That's my objective. So because I do have this other life as a filmmaker, that gives me the opportunity to maybe get opportunities that might be easier for me than some people, just because I sort of have a bit of a track record as a filmmaker. So the distributor that handles my feature films has expressed an interest in this show. And so because of that, I was working on an anime type thing, and when I had a discussion with my distributor, and we just got talking about cartoons and what I was kind of thinking about, and he liked the idea, and just based on what he's been seeing in the marketplace, he thought, yeah, I mean, this would be a good time to create something like that. And so I completely shifted gears some time ago to start working on this instead of the anime thing I was working on, just because this has kind of a market. Action scenes. There's action. Yeah, I mean, there's action. Actually, I'll show you something. The last thing I was working on, it's kind of funny, I think. I'll just play this sequence. So you've kind of got this ominous sequence where the bad guy is mumbling and grumbling to himself, and then the last thing he says is, "I have other fish to fry." Okay? So that's the setup. And then I'll just let this little sequence here play. So you get the fish jumping, and that's kind of the transition. So you got Mel out dealing with his laundry, which was established in an earlier scene that he's way behind on getting his laundry done. And plus he's got a bunch of homework to do because he's got a test coming up. Sorry guys, I'm chewing on an olive right now. Hopefully you can't hear that too easily. So at this point in the story, this is probably as close to action as we get, although at the end of the movie there's kind of a lot of, or the end of the show, there's quite a lot of action. So he's being tormented by this monkey. Yeah, right, buddy. Whatever. Back to the homework. But you see, the monkey keeps, as I say, tormenting him. This is where the right musical score would really help. And the monkey, he makes a chirp, startles Mel, and now Mel's annoyed because there's ink everywhere. And he decides he's going to do something about it. And he realizes Asher's garment has been soiled. What to do? What to do? He sees a tree. He'll never miss it. So that was one of the last shots I did, and then at the end you do actually have a fair amount of running around, and here's some kind of fun stuff going on when Luca crosses the river. The river's like this raging river where obviously you're going to be swept away if you fall in, and Mel decides he's going to go for it. I thought this was pretty funny. At this point, Mel and Tianara pretty much hate each other. They're like totally annoyed with each other. And she slips right by him while he's trying to cross the river. So it's, that actually gives you a good flavor for the kind of show it is. And, and at the end of the show, they kind of realize they need to throw in together and be a team. So, and then that sets it up for future episodes to go on and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what do we got here? Will there be any action? So there's my answer to that. Check out this guy, Yen Yen, YouTube channel. He does cool action anime, even live. I will check it out. Yen Yen? Okay. I'm going to hit Control C. And actually, I'm going to check it out real quick right now. Yen Yen. There he is. Yeah, that's cool. I will definitely check that guy out. Okay, so love the little monkey. He's so cheeky. He is cheeky. That's a very British word. We don't usually say cheeky here in the States, Darren, but it's a good word. I like the word cheeky. It's a good word. In fact, what I think I'll do? I think I'll talk with a little bit of Cockney for a bit, just to throw things, throw a little bit of strangeness into the mix. It's a lot of fun. And I know that you'll find it fun too. Now, if I wanted to, I could talk just like Darren T, which is more like this. He's got a very, very soft voice and a very kind voice. And he always says, hello, friends. And he's getting ticked at me right now, I'm sure. This looks with sound. I find it to be very fun. Thanks, Soda Pop. I appreciate that. Okay, so I'm thinking it's got a little color correction on it. So media, this is in scenes, J final render, and it's 99-J underscore. So, so now I'm going to go back here, save my work, save early, save often, as I like to say, and here we go, Control R. And what we're going to do is I need to go back in my other screen and double check these properties one more time because my memory isn't what it used to be. Okay, so this is going to be in J final render. Okay. J final render is my location, and the file name is 0099, or I'm sorry, 099 dash J underscore. So let's just do it this way, 099 dash J underscore. And the reason it's an underscore is because the original shot was done in Blender, and Blender was being stupid. And it looks like that worked. So, okay, so now there's a little bit of a hiccup here in Vegas. I use Vegas for editing, just because, man, I've been using Vegas for so many years. Okay, so there we go. Let's see if that plays. And it's still acting a little bit silly. So it's funny because Vegas has very few bugs. that I've ever been able to find, and this is one of them. Okay, that looks more correct. Let's see if that fixed it. Yep, there we go. Cool beans. That took care of that shot. Let's see what we've got next. That one's already done. And this one, let's see, TNR says, but he has nothing. Okay, so now here is a quintessential example of what I've been doing today. Okay, here's what we've got, folks. This shot is completely screwed up. This does not look like Mel. Okay, this is Mel. And so we've got several shots back here. You can see these shots were all redone today because I realized I had a bunch of shots like this one where he was off character, and I'm not even going to explain why I screwed this up so badly, but I really did. So now this needs to be fixed. This is 099L. So I'm going to save my work on this other screen, and we're going to load up 099L. Let's see if we have it as a CRETA. I think. Okay, no background, but that's okay. Okay, that might be fixable. We'll see. We have to play this one by ear. Okay, I'm looking. Sorry, Darren, I couldn't help it. The soundtrack will really add to it. I'm looking for it all come together. Let's get a lot of influence from an animation website. So Sakuraburu. I'll have to check that out too, Soda Pop. Always interesting to see what other people are up to. Okay, so what we have is, I think the easiest way to fix this one, let me see about his mouth. Okay, so I'm going to bake that down. I'm just going to bake that down. And I can totally appreciate why I did it the way I did it. But the easiest solution in this case is going to be to completely redo the really, dude? Apparently 99B is not the right shot. Okay. Tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just do a little drag and drop operation here. And I've got to look through my shots and see. Okay, well 9.7 definitely is going to be a good one. So let's go to scenes. 097. I'm on the other screen looking for it, and here we go. Let's pull this up, and we're gonna that's very interesting. When you load a shot as a layer, CRETA flattens it, so that's not what we want to do. Let's open in a new document. Okay, so we're pulling up 97, which as you can see has a lot going on, and it's actually at 24 frames a second. Okay, and what we want to do in essence is frankly start right here. I'm going to go all the way back to here. Let me check this. Now, I think the blush layer can go. We don't need the blush layer. We do need the mouth layer. Although, frankly, that's pretty quick and easy to redo. So we got our bowls, and what I need to do, yep, all I need to do is take this shot right here, drag it back. Okay, CRETA's being a little bit silly. CRETA, why are you being so silly? So what I'm trying to do is take this frame right here and drag it back to the beginning. Okay, and then that allows me to grab all these other keys like so and just delete them, which is actually for me is Shift Control X. And now I'm ready to. Okay, so So how do you like all the new 2D grease pencil features? Boy, that's a loaded question. Soda Pop, I will say this. If a person was completely starting 2D animation from scratch and I need to copy, hang on, I can't do two things at once, so I'm going to copy this layer and paste this layer. Okay, and now I'm going to say this is 99-L, and I'm going to resave this one as 099 -L. Okay, so what I was trying to say is that if you were starting to explore 2D animation as a new person coming to it, then I actually think choosing Blender as your tool is not a bad idea, because everything you need to do what you want to do is there, plus a lot of stuff that you obviously can't do in Krita. So as a Swiss Army knife tool for anything you'd ever want to create, Blender's great. Having said that, I've been using Blender for 20 years. I was the first guy on the planet Earth, to create a Blender training video back in, I think, 2000. In fact, I helped the Blender guys write the sequel to their Blender. They had a Blender tutorial book that they released, and you know, because I gained some notoriety in the Blender space, they invited me to help co-write the sequel book, Volume 2, Blender Tutorial Guide Version 2, and I actually met all those guys. I met Ton and you know, a bunch of the Blender guys at SIGGRAPH back in 2000. Okay, so he's basically looking like he's annoyed. So I'm gonna just do it this way. So I've got a long history with Blender, and all of which is to say, I have a love-hate relationship with Blender 2.8. And the reason is because when Blender 2.5 happened, everything that was going to be cool about it was cool about it, but it literally took 10 years. It took 10 years to get to Blender 2.79. And so when we came into all the changes from to 2.8, I looked at it with a bit of a jaundiced eye, let's say, because I had been around this block before, and the whole idea that it was all going to be so wonderful. The reality is, it is wonderful. Blender 2.8 plus, meaning now it's 2.92, is a very, very powerful and capable program, and the grease pencil is definitely much improved. Okay, so I'm thinking I'm gonna go one more like that, and then I'll go in and clean this up and patch it. So Blender Grease Pencil 2.8 forward, it is definitely improved, but having said that, it's not perfect, and there are things about it that I find annoying, such that I've tried it, I've used it, and I've made the conscientious decision to not make it my tool. Not right now. I'm having more fun working with Krita. I like the more painterly sort of approach. All right, so now I'm hitting the G key, But then I'm hitting E so that I can actually just go in here and do some lasso erasing like that. Okay. So obviously we've got some cleanup here that's got to happen. So that was a long-winded answer. But yeah, Blender 2.92 is, for a youngster that's just getting into animation, I would say it's a really good way to go. Okay, I've got to turn his head off so that I can evaluate what the heck is going on right now, because I keep trying to erase and nothing's happening. So, okay, that's better. All right, so let me just check my keys here. Okay, so what I need to do now is, you'll see the little patch I'm doing here. Boom, boom, boom. Just chisel that in. And then I'll just grab my brush, and I need to turn the stabilizer back off. There we go. Okay, and then in the head. So with Krita, I just find I can kind of intuitively just do what I'm trying to do very quickly and pretty easily. So now I can see this little tiny fix up I need to do right here. Boom. Okay, cool. Okay, what we got? Yeah, it's XP Pen. It is. XP Pen Digital Artist 15.6. Totally happy with it. It's been great. No complaints. No complaints. Oh, I see what I'm doing here. I see what my problem is. I am in erase mode. Oh, Dave, you silly, silly boy. No wonder you are having trouble. You're having great troubles. It is all your fault. It is very, very much your own fault, because you did not pay attention that you were in erase mode. Let's see here. XP pens are way better than Huion. You know, I've heard that the drivers are a little iffy with Huion, so without really being totally sure, I'm inclined to agree. Okay, so now in the head layer, which, since I'm not going to be dumb, I should rename that head. I'm going to go in here and just fix that. That looks a little bit silly to me, and this annoys me. It always defaults to curve interpolation, and I almost never want it to have curve interpolation. I like raw interpolation. Okay. And now we're going to go here. Same situation. Same situation. And the animation twice as long. Wacom is the best, but they're the cruelest. You know what, Soda Pop, let me tell you something. I don't think that's true anymore. I don't think it's been true for quite a while. This whole idea that Wacom is the best, I've seen zero evidence of that. And in fact, when I've seen people working with a Wacom on YouTube videos, there's actually greater latency in the stylus on the screen than I ever get with my with my XP pen. I think this idea that Wacom is the best is just a myth. That's a holdover from the fact that for 20 years they were the only game in town, and for the same product you're going to pay, what is it, 3 to 4 times as much for a Wacom. And I'm not at all convinced that they're better. I've been using my Digital Artist XP Pen 15.6 now for at least 2 years. It's worked flawlessly. I mean, no issues at all. So that's my opinion. And I'd rather pay $350 for my tablet than $2,000. Thank you very much. Now the comparable Wacom would be about $1,500, I think. Maybe they've got it down to around 1,000 now, but it's certainly a lot more than 350. Okay, so what we're going to do here is on the head layer, I want to check the timing. He bends and boom, right there. So let's do it here. Watch this. What I'm going to do is actually turn the bowls off, and now you can see this flaw in his head that we didn't even realize was there. Let's fix that just for fun. We don't technically need to. And all I'm doing is just lassoing around these items so that I can then Max Power says, are display tablets better than non-display? Yeah, I mean on my laptop I use a Wacom. I've got an old Wacom, a standard type tablet. It's a, I think it's a Graphire. It's either a Graphire or it's an Intuos. But I'll tell you, my Wacom tablet, that's a regular tablet, not a screen, is at least 10 years old. I mean, it's probably pushing 15 years old, and it's continued to work. So in that respect, I certainly have to say that the quality of the traditional Wacom tablets is just fine. Okay, like that. Simple way to add some around this stuff. And let me take that out, and I can see that there's actually a little bit of a glitch here as well. Well, sometimes when you're just cutting pieces out and repasting them back together, you can have these sorts of things. No big deal. Takes half a second to fix. So and oh my goodness, I see another flaw. Boom. Fixie fixie poo. There we go. Okay, stop. Hit the Z key, which for me is undo. I was in the wrong layer. This is actually the only thing about Krita I would complain about. I need to contact the devs. This has always been the case. If I would really like it if by clicking here in the timeline, see I clicked into this head layer, it doesn't, as you can see here, it doesn't actually switch to the head layer, and I've done this 10 trillion times where I click in the timeline and start drawing and then realize I'm drawing in the wrong layer. So okay, Darren says, I use my non-screen Wacom for around 10 years. Yeah, they're workhorses, that's for sure. If your non-screen teeth is working for you, no need to change, I'd say. Yeah, my opinion would be for drawing, I have enjoyed having a screen, without a doubt. You know, having gone for years without one. Okay, that's looking good. All right, let's jump back up here to the edit. And this is the shot we are replacing. Okay, that's the shot we're replacing. 99L. I'm just going to check its properties. And this is scene 99L final render. Okay. Alright, so here we're going to go. Actually, I'm going to go jump into L final render. And yes, it does number from 1. So I know you guys can't see what I'm doing right now, but what I'm doing is I'm going to render this. And we're going to jump to 99 L final render. And then the file name is actually 99-L underscore, which tells me the original version of this must have come out of Blender, hence the underscore. Yep, there we go. Alright, and now by the time we jump back up to here, we see that it's updated. So boom, oh, there it is. But it's got the same problem. Like I said, this is the only real hiccup I've seen with Vegas. I just need to sort of wake it up and make it realize that it's on a new image sequence. So there we go. And boom, there's the shot I just, well, wait a second. Okay, something's wrong. See that? His head goes up and then moves. And we never see it. Okay, I see the problem. I see the problem. Why, this is a big problem. Let's go to 99L. Here it is. And yeah, we're going to take this out. We're taking this out, baby. And the reason we're taking it out, and then we're going to clean the project media, is that the new version of it is actually at 24 frames a second, which I'm not switching to 24 frames a second. It's just that dealing with some of these shots that I'm fixing, they were done originally at 24 frames a second, and I'm like, why fight it? Okay, this should be interesting. Let's find out. Okay, this is a little wacky. This can, you know, you do run the risk when you're just fixing old shots of finding out that your workflow was a little funky earlier, which in this case it certainly was. Okay, and now what I want to do is actually extend this a little bit, and then in Vegas I hit Control-Shift-F, and all the tracks are rippled. Okay, cool. And that's needs to be butted up properly. And as you can see, we're running into the same issue over and over. Happening is this, I'm having the same issue repeat itself over and over and over again. Okay, boom, maybe that'll fix it. Yep. Okay, so boom, boom, boom. Okay, so let's transition back to here, and this shot is done. So file, save. The logistics of these shots are a little clunkier than they normally would be because of having to switch between frame rates and whatnot. Let's see here. I'm looking at some of the comments. I know it seems like simple to fix, but I know how much annoyance it gives you. I'm sure you're not the only one. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I really should take half a second and post something about that. There's actually, I need to compile my ideas because I have right now probably at least a half a dozen things in Krita that need to be fixed that could be quite helpful if they were fixed. I won't get into the details, but I've been looking closely at the Python API. I've been looking at the source code. I can see why some of the things in the Python API are a little funny because it's got to do with their... Yeah, this is a little annoying. A little annoying. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know how many times OBS has... you know, lost the connection today, but it's definitely happened a few times. Definitely irritating. So, how long have we been streaming? Over an hour. So yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up, guys, and go take care of a few other things. So, I would say, you know what? Thanks for hanging out and checking in, and I'm gonna keep this shot is probably gonna be the next on my list because Mel is so off character on this shot. It's pathetic. This shot is horrible. It's one of the worst shots I've ever done in my life. Definitely needs work. So yeah, as you can see, there's still plenty to do. So yeah, peace out to you guys too, and have a good night. I'm gonna end the stream in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There will be more later.